Good afternoon, good evening. I have no idea where you're watching this or what time it is in your zone, but welcome to another episode of Toast Talks with Coach Busi. This episode, I want to tell you, hold on to your seat because it's going to be flames. It's going to be on steroids. Today, I have the pleasure of interviewing distinguished Toastmaster Andrew Suro. Woo! And the DTM Andrew, welcome
Finally
to
made it.
finally, finally, it is that day. I
Mm.
have been bragging on Toastmasters. Some of the listeners are not yet Toastmasters. They're still sitting on the fence. And I've been bragging about this community that rallies behind me. Anytime I pick up the phone, it may take a minute for us to eventually get the time and the date locked down, but the answer is always a resounding yes, I will be there.
Mm. Mm.
Thank you for your yes, DTM Andrew. We have a tradition of wanting to know the genesis of your Toastmaster journey. That always intrigues us because for those who haven't started, they want to know how is it you are where you are today? Would you do us the honor of telling us where you started and how we got here? DTM Andrew.
Mine is an interesting story, and for you to understand the story, I have to take you back to the 19th of January 2015. You don't remember where you were, so I'm not going to even ask you. It was a Monday, and my brother was in town. My brother is 5 years older. And so he had already started his Toastmasters journey. In that time, he was what they called an area director or governor. I can't even remember, but it was back in the day, 2015. And in that role, one of his responsibilities was to set up a Toastmasters club in a new environment or new community. Now, I was in Bulawayo in Zimbabwe, and as much as it is the second largest city in Zimbabwe, we had no Toastmasters club. So, in the midst of him setting up a Toastmasters club, on this particular evening, he had forgotten to bring the paraphernalia, the banners, and everything that Toastmasters needed for a branded event. And so, who does he send? His young brother to come with this material. And lo and behold, I walk into a room with gray haired men and women. Some of them I've only heard about them from media, news, and TV. And these people are wearing suits and ties. I'm wearing jeans and t shirts, almost like much as I am wearing today. But I was skinnier and, as the 2K generation calls it, ashy. And I walk into that very first Toastmasters meeting. And now I've heard about Toastmasters. I mean, I knew my brother does Toastmasters. But for me, it is the place where the world champions of public speaking are crowned. And I, at this point in time, have no interest in that. Despite that, I have been very active in public speaking competitions since the age of 10.
Yeah.
And so when I get invited, I'm looking forward to just dropping this off. But that's not how it happens. A can of Coke gets me to stay in that meeting room at Silas Conference Center opposite Bulawayo Center in Bulawayo. And I get to stay in where one person is giving their very first speech. Apparently, they call it the icebreaker, where this person has 4 minutes to introduce himself. And do we not hear well, um, can I start again? Um, well, 9 minutes later. And what happens 9 minutes later? A standing ovation. And I'm looking at these people, I'm like, are you guys normal? I'm stunned. And I'm thinking, world champion of public speaking. Because where I come from, if you didn't know how to speak in front of an audience, I mean, if you didn't know how to fluently speak in front of an
Mm.
audience, fast in clear English, we will laugh at you so much so that you never want to see the stage. And so afterwards, I'm told, remember, there are people who have got so much to contribute, but lack the confidence and the courage to do so on this platform. And the second reason why I then joined, well, that was a cushioning point. But the first reason why I joined was then I'm like, these people position themselves as CEOs and industry leaders, and they can't
Right.
speak. I'm going to show them how to speak. In fact, it looks like this thing of being the world champion of public speaking is easy enough. I will do it. And then the second reason why I joined, particularly that evening, was that everybody in that room kept on repeating the phrase, I wish I had known and joined Toastmasters sooner. And I looked at
Wow.
my 19-year-old self and I said, sooner is today. And that's how I joined Toastmasters on the 19th of January, 2015.
And you said, DTM Andrew, that you were 19.
Yeah.
What a journey. You
Mm.
heard it on time, as it were, because a lot of us were late to the party, but we're here now. But we're
You're
still better than those who are watching and thinking, should I not? Because they are still sitting on the fence.
mm,
DTM Andrew, I hear you work in the corporate space. Corporate trainer, is there any correlationship between your Toastmasters side of things and your professional side of things? You want to tell us how one may feed into the other?
certainly, and I'll be happy to. When I do something, I go full force and full
Mm,
force so that I could either be doing the wrong thing very right or I'll do the right thing very right. There are no in-betweens with me. And so 2 years after starting my Toastmasters journey, I was obviously studying marketing management because I love this idea of presenting. I thought marketing managers are only all going to be speaking on CNN, BBC News, and all these other big media houses. And I saw myself doing that. And so that's why I went into studying marketing and removing all these other known professions. Now, for 2 years since 2015, I had been a Toastmaster holic. I would go to at least 5 Toastmasters events per week. That's
wow.
the barest minimum. And one day I meet a lady by the name of Karen Levi Strauss. Now she's looking for other help, but as they say, in teaching you learn, and in learning you teach. Now I was
Mhm.
teaching her about what we millennials do, and she asked me a profound question. What are you hoping to achieve? And that question changed the trajectory of not only my Toastmasters journey, but my life in whole. From then in 2017, as I was working for this organization I was just doing my internship in marketing, particularly as a business development consultant,
Mhm.
and it was a training organization, I started becoming more intentional with my Toastmasters journey. When they said to me, would you like to do what they call a prepared speech?
Mhm.
Karen had almost, almost, let me say, intrigued me into thinking that prepared speech is a snippet of a keynote that a corporate or an organization would pay for. So I must give it to them. When they said, who wants to be the Toastmaster of the day? That's like being the MC of an event. And so Karen had prepared me to think of myself as a professional hired MC. And so I started approaching my program in Toastmasters with intention. Whenever I was giving a prepared speech, whether it was then in what they called the competent communication manual and what we have as the Pathways program, it was a snippet of a motivational talk or a keynote speech that people would be like, I want to hear more. And then I'll be like, how much are you willing to pay? And that's how it started. And in Toastmasters, because it's a learning and development organization, there's a
Mm,
lot of training that happens. And so I went for a course called the Speaker to Trainer, where I was transitioning from just mere speaking to the training side of Toastmasters development. And through that course, I started practicing facilitating skills that I may have already heard but may not have known how to deliver and share them with others. That was when I met a lady who then got me into the training, says, my organization needs this. Can you come and train? And I was not even in that space. And they said, don't you worry, I'll handle the admin. Connected me to this, obviously, organization that I was already working for, and they sort out the procurement issues. And here I was facilitating a course in 2017. And since then, my journey in corporate training has been flawless, growing in leaps and bounds because of Toastmasters. No formal qualification along those lines, but just the commitment and the intentional approach to my development. And that's how today I go in various countries doing that skill of corporate training.
I absolutely love that. And I always come back when I hear of people who are monetizing through having gone through Toastmasters, and I say, what is your subscription? What do you pay to be a member of Toastmasters? I know I pay $60. Do you pay the same amount? How much do you pay, DTM Andrew?
I somehow don't even count. It's too insignificant to even look at right now. I'm even embarrassed because I feel like I'm stealing from the organization because $60 is really nothing. I tell somebody that since then, in fact, I suppose even before, but I remember a distinct moment when I was called, and it's a short one. I was called by an organization. I will not mention their name, but it's called the Best or Nothing. You would probably remember who they are. And they invited me to MC after I'd become a Toastmaster of the day for one of their meetings. They invited me
Mhm,
to their year-end function. Now, then I used to pay what would be 36 US dollars, and I would equate to just about under 500 Rand in that case. And so when they invited me to MC, I was so excited because I'm doing what I love, right? And then I get an email, please send us an invoice. Now, I'm like, an invoice to do what I love. So you know what I did? I calculated how much it would cost me to get to their venue using e-hailing systems, Uber. I
mhm,
calculate, okay, I might need to wear something decent. How much does
mhm,
it cost to buy a suit? And yeah, in case I just need a Coke, how much would it cost me? And then I sent them an invoice for 2,500 Rand, which was under just about $100 then. I promise you, they sent me an email back and said, there's an error on your invoice. Please correct it and please resend your invoice. I looked at it and I'm like, are they saying it's a lot? I'm like, but no, it can't be. Other people are charging way excessive. So what I did
mhm.
is that no, there's no error. And I corrected that invoice and wrote my invoice in words. 2,500 Rand. The lady calls me, and I'll keep her name anonymous, and she says, young man, last year we paid 30,000 Rand to someone who is not even half as good as you were. I
Wow.
unfortunately can't change this at this point in time, but next time, know your worth. And so when I talk about my membership, that first engagement that I eventually got through them, which paid me, of course, I've shared how much now,
Mhm,
that 30,000 Rand is still paying the membership fees that I've paid for multiple clubs that I've been a member of, that
mhm.
one event. So don't ask me about how much I pay. The return on investment is just too much to fathom.
Do you know why I ask this question? There are so many people who think they're doing Toastmasters a favor by paying subscriptions. And that thought is so superfluous, it is unreal, because what you can do, and clearly not everyone can be GTM and MCing at those points, but I can tell you that I have not paid for my subs from my salary or other earnings except that which I'm getting through my coaching. I do like coaching. And because I have another job as well, I don't always go full time into the coaching. However, I factored in that for the first clients that I coach, I am going to pay not just my subscriptions, but my daughter's as well. She's 21 and she's riding this journey with me. And I'm like, no, I caught on later, but I'm going to make sure she's going to be more like you and and get on this train much quicker than I have.
That's right.
Now, you said that you go all in anything that you do. I know your job, the corporate side, is very demanding. And I know that for Toastmasters, the places I bump into you, you are all over the Toastmaster streets, as I call them. How do you balance that work energy and the Toastmasters? I know you are blessed in that they kind of dovetail, but how do you manage your time? How are you so available for Toastmasters?
You know what, Busi? Let me say that I am one person who looks at Toastmasters differently. Many people look at Toastmasters as an entity, and then their work as an entity,
Mhm.
their family as an entity, and so forth. Fair and fine. In Andrew's world, Toastmasters is a vehicle that makes my work much more easier, my family life much more closely knit, and my social life a lot more edutainment, you know, in the sense that Toastmasters is just a vehicle. It's not even an entity. The only person who needs to look at Toastmasters as an entity is the person who's being paid by Toastmasters. For me, Toastmasters is a vehicle. It's a vehicle to make my work, my family life, and my other priorities in life closely knit. And so I never have to have competing priorities in Toastmasters. The roles that I've taken in leadership have been intentional towards building my professional profile.
Well,
The times, the engagements that I take on in Toastmasters, they've been intentional in becoming a launch pad for a particular project or particular mission that I have. And so I will always have time for Toastmasters for as long as my vision is still there. For as long as I can tell this is my destination, Toastmasters, I'll figure out which vehicle in Toastmasters do I use to get there. And that's how you find me very engaged in Toastmasters. It's on a mission. I have to
mm,
get into a car to get me where I want to get to. And so Toastmasters is that car. It depends on one time it's the best or nothing, on the other one it's the speedy one. Whichever route it takes, I have a vehicle for where I'm going. So there's no question around balance between Toastmasters and no. Toastmasters is the vehicle, and the vehicle just it has wheel alignment already. So it just takes me there.
wow, what a mouthful, but one that is so engaging. I have taken note of that. I love Toastmasters, but I've never thought about it in the way that you have just unpacked it. So thank you very much. My vehicle is taking me to my destination too. You
That's
said
right.
when you were speaking that you mentioned family. Um, I hope you're going to excuse me for asking what a lot of my listeners with a piece of jewelry missing on their fingers would be thinking about. This family, is there a Mrs. Churo already in the mix? What is your family status? Then?
Oh, thank you for that brilliant question. I always love to answer that question. Yes, there is a Mrs. Tsuro who has been with a Mr. Tsuro for the last 25 years now, 25, 35 years now, you know? And they gave birth to my elder brother, and I'm the second. And so I'm a son to this family. So there is a Mrs. Tsuro. My family status, I'm a devoted son to these two parents who love me, and a brother to three siblings. And that's I'm so delighted. Thank you for asking. Very few people care about my family setting.
Well, allow me to say, let those with ears hear what the gentleman has just said, and I will
That,
leave it at that.
that's it.
But to those who ask the question, I have asked the question, and what you do with the answer, I will leave up to you, dear listeners. On a serious note, DTM
Mm.
Andrew, you are DTM how many times?
So I've followed the DTM program at least three times to get the DTM designation, three times in the last 9 years.
Wow, wow. Makes me wonder. Toastmasters has been around for a century now, 100 years. I have just attained my first DTM, so feeling very happy and very proud. I've done the work. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You have done it 3 times. Clearly, there is a reason why just one was not enough for you. I spoke to a gentleman who is just completing his seventh DTM project and getting that award. What is it about Toastmasters that stays relevant 100 years on? This organization, this vehicle is still moving forward. You attained your first DTM, your second, your third. What is it about Toastmasters that remains fresh and relevant?
Like I said, for me, when it comes to Toastmasters, I really look at it as a vehicle for a particular reason, right? And now to bring it to another analogy, to me, you know, this learning that we get in Toastmasters is no different to the food we need to nourish our bodies, all right? And so you don't say to me, I've just had food and that's it. I ate last week. So
Mhm.
that we eat consistently, even most of us eat three times a day. Some even have 6 meals a day to nourish their bodies, to nourish themselves. And so Toastmasters nourishes the mind. And so for me, when I then pursue the leadership program, the pathways program, the communication track, I'm nourishing my communication skills and leadership skills that keep me relevant through and through. And the DTM is that what you feel when you say, oh, I had a nice meal, I'm full. The DTM is the same way to say, you know what? I have developed my communication skills. I'm so impressed with myself. I'm good. I've developed my leadership skills. I've developed them. I'm good for that particular period.
Mm,
Tomorrow, I won't need to eat. That doesn't mean tomorrow I don't need to develop. I still continuously develop. The Kaizen principle rings true in this. There's continuous development. And that's what the Toastmasters program is about because there's an array, a diversity of people who come into the program and reach our lives and reach our experiences and reach our world so much so that through their feedback, I become wiser and richer through their coaching and mentorship, I become better and better. And particularly when you look into the Distinguished Toastmaster program, there's a lot of service that you need to contribute to. And so the more you serve, Zig Ziglar said it, the more I help, the more I can get for myself. So I help enough people in order to get enough of myself. And it's clearly I can't get enough of it. So that's where it comes through. And ultimately, if you remember, there's a saying by our first female president, Helen Blanchard, if you get all there is to get out of Toastmasters, you will never get out of Toastmasters. And that's with me. I haven't gotten all the I've gotten all there is to get out of Toastmasters, so I can't get out.
Whoa, distinguished Toastmaster Andrew Turo, thank you so much. This has been such an enriching conversation with you. The nuggets are such that I am going to need to watch this again and take my own notes. It's the one thing that I find a little bit confusing for me. When I enter into a Toastmasters meeting, I normally have pen and paper and I'm taking notes. And because I want to stay engaged with these conversations, I stand and I'm not able to take notes. But I will have to go back because you have dropped some amazing nuggets that I need to make sure that they absolutely get settled in my spirit. And for me, that connection head to pen to paper eventually lands in the heart. So I am so grateful for your time. And you didn't give a shout out to your main club. That's the one thing that we didn't ask. When you joined, or which is the club that you call your home club, please give a shout out to your club before we wind up.
Thank you very much. I do want to acknowledge and appreciate, not just shout out, Supreme Toastmasters Club in Bulawayo for grooming this somewhat now fine young leader that is redefining leadership in Africa. And along the journey, that community was my home. And I've since moved and worked around to various other clubs. And currently, I am a member of the Entrepreneurs Toastmasters Club in Pretoria, South Africa, which is really growing in leaps and bounds in helping many Toastmasters make profit through the Toastmasters program. And so that is my home currently, and I'm a proud member or proud partner member of that club.
Woo-hoo-hoo. That was indeed an acknowledgement, not just a shout out. Thank you so much. And I'm sure the two clubs are busy going, yes, yes, that's our member partner. Well done. And thank you so much. There are so many things that I didn't get to speak to you about, but this channel is for the 100 voices that we are going to have. At some point, I have no doubt that you and I are going to dance this dance again. It may be called something different, but I am so grateful that I have you on my speed dial and I can reach out. Any other questions that I get from the listeners? You are such an interesting guest because people asked before I got to interview you the things they wanted to hear. A lot of other things I did not get into, and I'll have to give an account for those. But for the time you gave us, sincere thank you. Sincerely, I appreciate and I'm so grateful. And so are the listeners.
I am more grateful to you, CoachBusi, for the platform that you have given to many voices, particularly the African voices. There is a lot of opportunities and gaps for us to document our experiences, and the work that you're doing is a huge it has a huge impact on documenting stories and experiences that can help somebody out there. So, whilst I'm honored to have been invited and I'm glad I made the guest list, but I'm really more grateful to you and the team behind the scenes that are making this happen. You have no idea how a century later, people will have to look back at this and recognize the contribution that this has done. We are always crying for mainstream media, but this is our key mainstream media. And I'm really grateful for this opportunity and the platform that you've created for the many voices out there. We truly are finding our voices through your platform. And thank you, Coach Woodsy, for making this a reality.
Oh, when one of your heroes gives you words like that, all you want to do is to say, I am making it. I am making a difference. So thank you so much. I appreciate you. And on that note, dear listeners, I will release Him Andrew and you until we meet again with another fabulous, amazing Toastmaster. Because as you have seen, they keep saying yes, and I'll keep interviewing them for you. Dear listeners, CoachBusi, CCM Andrew, over and out.